Okay, so here's something that really made me stop and think. Most failed church plants didn't actually collapse because of, bad preaching or even a lack of passion.
Right.
They died because nobody really knew what success was supposed to look like.
Mm.
When I first heard that, I was genuinely surprised. It just kind of flies in the face of everything I'd assumed, the
Mm.
big sermons, the passion.
Yeah, the usual suspects.
Exactly.
Okay.
But today, we're doing a deep dive into why this idea, this simple concept of defining success clearly, isn't just like helpful advice.
Yeah, it's crucial.
It's apparently a lifeline for any big project, maybe especially in ministry. Think of it as a shortcut, maybe, to avoiding years of frustration.
It's so true. And it's genuinely tragic when you see these ministries start with just incredible energy,
Yeah.
only to sort of fizzle out months or sometimes even just weeks later.
Mm-hmm.
That initial vision might feel really strong, but if you don't know where you're actually going, well, the journey gets lost pretty fast. Passion, it can get a church plant off the ground,
Yeah.
but it's clarity that keeps it going.
Clarity sustains it. I like that.
Yeah. And these ideas, goals, and fuzzes, they're not just business speak. They're basically the compass and the milestones you need to avoid just being busy for the sake of being busy.
And that burnout,
And definitely the burnout, yeah.
that aimless busyness you mentioned, that's something I think a lot of us have probably experienced, right?
For sure.
It feels productive, you're running around, but are you actually moving forward? It's that activity trap.
Exactly. Mistaking movement for progress.
Yeah. Like, imagine you're at the starting line of a marathon. You're all kitted out, you're full of energy,
Ready to go.
but you literally have no idea where the route is. No clue about checkpoints or even where the finish line might be.
You just run randomly.
You might run hard for a bit, but eventually that uncertainty just eats away at you, right? It kills your focus
And leads straight to exhaustion.
because you never feel like you're achieving anything concrete.
Yeah.
So how does this trap play out specifically in ministries today? Especially with all the challenges shifting culture, maybe more skepticism?
Well, in an environment like this, which is, let's face it, pretty volatile,
Yeah.
that luxury of just saying, oh, we'll just see where God takes us, it's kind of gone.
Can't afford ambiguity.
The stakes are just too high. And, Proverbs 29.18 warns, where there is no vision, the people perish.
Wow.
And that's not just like poetic, it's strategic reality. It plays out in really tangible, often heartbreaking ways.
Like what?
Well, without clear goals, teams end up chasing their tails on endless activities. Volunteers burn out because they don't see any real wins.
Right. No milestones.
Exactly. And precious money gets stretched thin on projects that aren't really defined. So it's not just losing steam, it's losing trust, losing hope, the very things that fuel ministry.
That's powerful, connecting vision directly to trust and hope.
Mhm.
But, this whole idea, it still sometimes feels a bit like modern business strategy.
I
Nettie.
did get that.
So let's unpack this. Where does this idea of, intentional planning and phases actually come from? Is it really biblical? Or is it just good management theory we're borrowing?
That's the fascinating part, because when you look closely, God himself is revealed as, well, a God who designs, who architects, who plants with incredible intention,
Okay.
with foresight, and with phased progression. Think about creation, Genesis 1.
Right. The 6 days.
Exactly. It's not just a random explosion of energy. It's described as like architectural mastery. It's meticulously ordered.
Step by step.
Phase by phase, light from darkness, separating waters, forming land, filling it with life, and then resting. That signals completion, order. It models this rhythm.
Rhythm of creation and growth.
Yeah. And it doesn't stop there. Look at God's whole plan of redemption.
Okay.
The promises to Abraham back in Genesis 12. The setting up of Israel, building the tabernacle, the temple.
Those were huge undertakings.
Huge. And each one was like a distinct milestone in this grand unfolding narrative architecture. Each had specific goals, specific purposes.
So God is the master architect.
Yes. But also, interestingly, as a gardener.
A gardener. How so?
Well, think about Jesus' own metaphor. The seed in Mark 4.
Ah, the parable of the growing seed.
Right. Growth is organic. It's definitely divinely powered, but it absolutely relies on seasons, on preparing the soil properly, on watering, on time.
So the planter isn't just passive.
Not at all. The planter's role is active stewardship, intentional care of the environment so that growth can actually happen.
Wow, okay. Architect and gardener. That really reframes things. It makes this idea of defining success feel less corporate and more Well, more like mirroring God's own way of working.
Exactly. It shifts faith from passive waiting to active partnership.
Okay, so if this is God's pattern, this divine blueprint, I'm curious now, do we see this phased approach, the strategic thinking, in other parts of the Bible, like with people?
Oh, absolutely. It's not just abstract theology. You see it woven right through the lives of key figures in Scripture.
Give me some examples. Make it concrete.
Okay, perfect example. Nehemiah.
Rebuilding the wall.
Exactly. When he gets back to Jerusalem, he doesn't just, hold a prayer meeting and hope the wall rebuilds itself.
Right.
No, he assesses the damage systematically. He rallies the workers. He assigns tasks really strategically by families, by groups.
Very organized.
Very. And he works with specific goals and even timelines. You see it all laid out in Nehemiah 2-6. His faith wasn't replaced by planning, it fueled it.
Faith fueled the plan. Okay, who else?
Then there's the Apostle Paul, his
Yeah.
missionary journeys, his church planting. It wasn't random tourism.
No.
No way. It was marked by really intentional phases. First, you see evangelism, getting the message out.
Okay.
Then discipleship, building people up. Then establishing leadership. You see that pattern in places like 1 Thessalonians 2 or Titus 1.
He had priorities.
Absolutely. He set priorities. He mapped out next steps. He even measured the impact. It wasn't a lack of faith. It was like spirit-led intentionality.
Wow.
He even targeted specific cities, right? Major urban centers like Ephesus, Corinth, Philippi. Why?
Yeah.
Because they were hubs,
Strategic.
strategic locations. Makes sense. Any others?
Well, Jesus himself. Think about how he trained the 12.
Mm-hmm. Over time.
Yes, over time, deliberately preparing them step by step for leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Mark 3 talks about him calling them. His whole ministry had phases, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Public teaching first, reaching the crowds, then more private training for the core group, then sending them out on missions.
Practice runs.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And it all culminates in the Great Commission, right? The ultimate sending out.
Matthew 28, yeah.
Even think way back to the Exodus, Israel's journey. That was a
Yeah.
strategic process too.
How so?
Well, distinct phases. Deliverance from Egypt, getting the covenant at Sinai, the testing time in the wilderness, and finally entering the promised land. Each stage had clear objectives.
Okay. I'm seeing the pattern. And one more, just quickly, Acts 1.8, Jesus tells them, Jerusalem, then Judea and Samaria, then the ends of the earth.
The ripple effect.
Exactly. It's practically a divine blueprint, a phased rollout plan for the early church.
That's remarkable, seeing it laid out like that. Nehemiah, Paul, Jesus, even the Exodus. It's consistent. But there's often this tension, isn't there?
Yeah.
Well, this idea that, too much planning somehow stifles the spirit, or that it's almost unspiritual to meticulously map out God's work. How do we handle that? How do you reconcile detailed plans with being sensitive to the spirit?
Ah, yes. That's a really important question. And honestly, it's based on a false dichotomy, meaning spirit-led strategy and spiritual sensitivity aren't enemies. They actually work together. A good strategy, one built on intentional goals, thrives within that spiritual sensitivity.
So the plan doesn't block the spirit.
Not at all. Think of a clearly articulated vision, a clear plan, not as a cage, but as a channel. It helps faith-driven action flow with maximum impact. Remember Proverbs 16.9. In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps.
Planning and sovereignty together.
Exactly. It shows this beautiful harmony between our responsibility, our agency, and God's ultimate direction. Planning, seen this way, is actually an act of faithfulness. It's stewardship.
Stewardship, like the parable of the talents.
Precisely. Matthew 25, right. Using wisely what you've been given time, relationships, resources, it all ties into a really practical point, too. You can't really manage what you don't measure.
Ooh, okay. Manage what you measure. Some people might react against that in a church context.
I know, but measurement isn't automatically a lack of faith. It can be a demonstration of responsible stewardship.
How so?
It helps us see where God might be moving. It helps us put resources where they're actually needed and effective. And honestly, it sustains hope. Seeing tangible progress through milestones keeps people going.
Right, and counters that burnout we talked about.
For sure. It's about balancing, the numbers and the narrative, the stories and the stats. It helps leaders be accountable too, not just to people, but accountable in their stewardship before God.
That makes so much sense. Connecting planning directly to stewardship and accountability. Okay, so let's get really practical. We've talked about why it matters, that it's biblical. How does this actually look on the ground?
Yeah.
For something like church planting, could you walk us through those phases you mentioned, like a blueprint for growth?
Yeah, absolutely. And let's keep thinking about that architect and gardener metaphor as we go. Each phase is critical for building something that lasts.
Okay, phase one.
Phase one is preparation, groundbreaking, prayer, and assessment. This is like the architect surveying the land before they even think about drawing plans.
Okay, lots of groundwork.
Tons of it. Deep prayer, obviously, but also practical stuff. Community research, spiritual mapping, understanding the spiritual climate, and crucially, building relationships.
Laying relational foundations.
Exactly. Just like Jesus prepared the disciples before sending them out. This phase builds that spiritual and relational readiness. You got to understand the soil before you plant the seed, right?
Makes sense. What's next? Phase two.
Phase two is launch, laying the foundation. This is where the vision starts to take physical shape. It's the beginning.
Okay, so gathering people.
Yeah. Often it involves gathering that initial core group, maybe starting public gatherings, beginning those first outreach efforts.
Sounds exciting, but maybe tricky.
It requires immense patience and real intentionality. Like a builder pouring the concrete foundation, you have to get it right. You're establishing the rhythms, clarifying the church's identity, making sure it's stable from day one.
Got it. Solid foundation. Then phase three.
Phase three, growth and discipleship. Raising the structure. Once that foundation is set and stable, the focus naturally shifts.
They're getting bigger.
To growth, yes, both in numbers, hopefully, but just as importantly, spiritual growth, deepening faith.
Okay, so discipleship focus.
Big time. Consistent discipleship, intentional leadership training, raising up leaders from within and really building that sense of community.
Building the actual structure on the foundation.
Exactly. Think about Paul's letters, like Ephesians 4. He's talking about maturity, sound doctrine, unity, clear goals for spiritual construction. This is where the building goes up, floor by floor, carefully and with purpose.
Okay, preparation, launch, growth.
Mm-hmm.
What's the final phase?
Phase 4, multiplication and sustainability, finishing and flourishing. This is where a truly healthy church plant doesn't just survive, it thrives and reproduces.
Reproduces, like sending people out.
Yes, it becomes a sending church, reproducing new leaders, maybe even planting new churches itself.
Completing the cycle.
It directly mirrors the Great Commission, doesn't it? Disciples making disciples, ensuring the movement continues and grows beyond the initial plant. It's not just about finishing this building, but making sure it's strong enough to seed new foundations elsewhere.
Preparation, launch, growth, multiplication.
Yeah.
That's such a clear, logical flow. It really maps out the journey. So for you listening right now,
Yeah.
how do we take this idea, this divine architectural heart, and actually, do it in our own ministries, maybe even in personal goals? What are the practical takeaways?
Right, let's boil it down to some actionable wisdom you can use right away. First, and this is huge, develop a written blueprint.
Get it out of your head and onto paper.
Exactly. Don't just carry the vision around. Articulate clear, measurable goals. Use that SMART framework if it helps. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. And include timelines, figure out the resources needed to find who does what on the team.
Clarity. Got it. What else?
Second, regularly review and adapt that blueprint. It's not carved in stone.
It's a living document.
Precisely. Ministry is dynamic. The Spirit moves. You need to adjust prayerfully as things change as you learn.
Okay, review and adapt. Number 3.
Third, build a core team around that shared vision. Don't try to do it alone. Collaboration brings accountability, diverse gifts, makes the load lighter, and usually makes the outcome way richer.
Makes sense. Teamwork.
Fourth, and this ties back to the activity trap, anchor all your activities to your goals.
No busy work.
Avoid busyness for busyness' sake. Every meeting, every event, every outreach ask, how does this serve our actual plan? How does it move us towards those milestones we defined?
Purposeful action. Okay, and last one.
Finally, cultivate a rhythm of prayer and planning. They go together. Prayer fuels the vision, gives you the passion and direction. Planning channels that energy effectively.
Prayer and planning. Not either.
Definitely not. And maybe one practical tool here. Consider doing something called the one-sentence definition exercise with your team.
One sentence.
Yeah. Work together to boil down your core purpose, your mission, into a single, concise sentence. It forces amazing clarity and alignment on the why and the what.
That sounds really powerful. Okay, this whole deep dive has genuinely shifted how I think about vision and getting things done.
Good.
What started as just a surprising idea about why plants fail now feels, well, fundamental, rooted in Scripture, rooted in practical wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
It seems clear that putting vision, goals, and phases together really does turn those abstract dreams into something tangible. Hopefully, for you listening, this isn't just information, but gives you a real sense of purpose and a clearer path forward.
Indeed. Because this balanced approach, where faith meets planning, where vision meets measurable steps, it really honors God, it empowers his people, and it helps ensure that these new communities of faith can truly flourish, not just by chance.
But by divine design and our
Huh.
diligent partnership with Him.
So here's the final thought to leave you with. Ultimately, how do you define success in church planting or whatever ministry you're involved in? Is it just about the numbers, attendance? Is it spiritual maturity, community impact? Or is it something maybe deeper, something that captures both God's architectural precision and his gardening patience? How might redefining success truly reshape your goals and your strategy starting today?